Okay, so this is the Xduoo TA-30. I've done the TA-10, I've done the TA-20, and now this is the TA-30. And it is remarkably more expensive. Well, actually, no, the TA-20 was still like a $400 amp, but it's more expensive than that. Not currently on Amazon. Drop has it for a little bit less. Hi-Fi Go, Xduoo themselves have it indirectly. So I'm going to link a couple places where you can buy this if you decide to buy it. I don't know. I'm not you. I haven't told you about it yet. It's got a few blaring flaws, but fuck. All right. As you can tell, my phone is a Bluetooth to it. So it's not just like a normal, oh, it's a tube amp. Well, here's the thing. All the other TA series have been hybrids. And this is the first one that on none of the websites that sell it, you need to put that on for good luck, does it say the word hybrid. But since it's a tube amp, and it's claiming 3,000 milliwatts, which is 3 watts a channel, which is a lot at 32 ohm. I'm going to make the assumption, and after consulting many people, that this is also a hybrid. One of the things usually you get with the benefit of a hybrid is you don't get as much heat. But they've decided to go with a giant rectifier and these two adorable little preamp tubes. And it's up to Xduoo build standards. It's definitely one of the nicer built and boxed units. I'd show you the back, but now I'm cooking. So you can see there's lots going on, and I'll probably pick it up and spin it around in a second. One of the reasons I'm doing this review now, which I've had it for about a week, and usually I go 3-4 weeks before I review something because I really want to get the flavor. But I've been using it a lot. In fact, I left it running to get the tubes burned in because burn-in doesn't exist for headphone wires, doesn't exist for RCAs, doesn't exist for solid state. I believe driver movement burns in. I believe driver movement burns in. And I know that tubes burn in. So you want to run them. You want to run them for like 100 hours. And I ran them nonstop for like 3 days, on, off, on, off. I wouldn't want to go to sleep, not in this room, and because it's... The other issue is it's a room heater, and I blew the first fuse. Literally, I turned it on one morning to use it, and the fuse was... It's only a 1/4 of an amp, 250 volt. And I hope the second one doesn't blow up before I'm finished with this review, because this thing generates enough heat that I don't believe this fuse is enough. But forget about the heat. Let's talk about the actual... Why, Zeos? Why do I care? Why? Well, having a tube amp like that Dark Voice, that's a true tube amp. It has a power tube and a preamp tube, and it's got a big old transformer, and it probably puts out 1/3 of a watt cleanly. Maybe 1/2 watt if you get the right tube combination. And that's enough for some headphones. And if you get up high enough, you get distortion because you are pulling the power or the resistance through the tubes. So if you go more, it's like, and then old tech explodes. This, being a hybrid, it's got unlimited power. Unlimited. It's got so much power, even saying only 3 watts, that I'm tempted to build an adapter so I can plug into speakers. We should probably talk about the fact that this is also a Dac and Bluetooth receiver. On the back of this unit is coaxial input, fiber optic input, USB input. There's a Bluetooth antenna, which you can see I am currently... The front of the unit has a screen which says Bluetooth and says LDAC because it's using the newest Blue DAC. Wow. I should invent something called Blue DAC. Bluetooth codec. And it sounds perfectly fine. Perfect. Like I can almost not tell the difference between like an optical input and the Bluetooth input. It's that close. And that stands for like almost all the modern Bluetooth devices. There is a problem. Or no, sorry. I'm not going to call this a problem. I'm going to call this a weird quirk that I've never seen in a Bluetooth device. Where one of the problems I have with this unit, since it's so powerful, the volume knob is nearly useless. It's basically mute and pray you don't blow shit up, and it never goes past 9 o'clock. On any headphone. That's why I have the T60s RP out here now. Because I figure these are the hardest to drive headphones I've got. These or the Argons or the 20s, they all share the same difficulty. Still can't go past 9 o'clock. And that's unfortunate. But I figured with Bluetooth, I'd be able to lower the phone's Bluetooth actual volume, and then we could balance it out. You want to hear the weirdest thing ever? Let's put on a song.
And let me give you a tongue kiss on your hot pocket. Me and Michael.
Can't go wrong with Run the Jewels. Anyway, volume doesn't do anything until you get to there. Now it's lowered. From that point up is maximum Bluetooth volume. And I've never seen that. Usually if the phone can control its own volume out and then the Bluetooth has a volume out, then you could sort of balance between the two. This unit, and it's not my phone, it's got to be the unit, the top 70% of the volume control is maximum volume. Which is what this unit feels like. It's its biggest flaw. Let's get its biggest flaw out of the way before I start talking about all these wonderful things. It's 3 watts a channel. It's $700. And I would pay an extra fucking $100 if it had a high-low gain switch. Please. Please, Xduoo in the future. Understand the market. And like, they must have headphones at Xduoo, right? They must build this and then plug a headphone in. Or do they only have HE6s? This feels like they only have HE6s. Because, and I want to be real careful because it is a very, very thick tube amp and it's very warm. But even on Bluetooth, that'll kill you. That'll kill you. We take out these and we put something more efficient in. And these are my beautiful Audio-Technica 2000Xs. And keeping in mind we're running through Bluetooth currently. Here, I'll make sure it's up to maximum. Oh fuck. So that's the main flaw. Sounds amazing. It does all the things I actually expect from a tube. It kind of reminds me of the Inspire amp that I did a month ago or so. That really like powerful 1.7 watts. 1.7 watts. But a true tube, and I was like, wow. Well, now take that, double the power, and have the control. That's where we are. I literally can hear, usually when you turn a volume pot, there's a discrepancy between left and right, and then it balances out as you go higher. And it goes, nothing, no sound. The discrepancy lasts for approximately 5 degrees. So you go. And then it is no volume, discrepancy, listening volume. Louder than listening volume should be. That's way too low. And I could lower it if I lower that all the way. Let's get off of Bluetooth for a second. And I'm going to just change the input. The buttons in front. I should talk about that. Power switch is in the back above the actual input, which is kind of annoying for a unit this expensive. For a unit you're definitely going to be shutting off at night. Like some of the shit stuff, they could argue that, oh, you're supposed to leave it on all the time. So I put the switch in the back. But this is a hot fucking tube amp. Let's see, what's the top of this tube register? 214 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 101 degrees Celsius. You want to do Celsius? That's fit 40. This is 75. Where's 105 Fahrenheit, 102. I had this thing on for 6 hours, and it irradiated so much heat I thought I was in Chernobyl. It was like 112 degrees Fahrenheit average around the whole unit, which my friend who builds tube amps says that's going to murder all the components inside of it in a few years. So longevity, if you're thinking you're going to pass this on to your grandkids, probably not going to happen with that sort of heat. And the thing is, the tubes are exposed. It's not the tubes generating the heat. It's the amplifier inside of it. And that warmth, that translates. A lot of times a warm, big Class A amp, which this very much might be, will produce a warm, big sound. Then you throw some tubes on there. You make a hybrid. They're doing a lot of stuff to make this sound 100% tube, even though it's not. So what was I saying? Bluetooth, turn it on, input, all right, buttons. Remember I was talking about buttons in the front? Yeah, buttons in the front. So the power switch is in the back. That's annoying. That means you can't exactly put it in your desk under something, although I don't recommend that anyway, unless you want to cook whatever's right here. So you need to be able to reach around, God, these jokes write themselves, and finger the switch right there. In the front, however, you get input, filter, Bluetooth, and then on this side, you get another button called language. And I've never seen a dedicated language button before. Smashing my space bar. And what that does is you hit it, and you either have English or Chinese. I think that says Chinese. And when you set it to Chinese, instead of it saying Bluetooth in the corner, it says Bluetooth in Chinese, which I guess I'm learning. And that's the only function of this button, is to switch between two languages, because Xduoo is very Chinese, and they are selling probably to their own market more than us. And then your input, filter, and Bluetooth. So filter, DAC filter, brick wall, DAC filter, L sharp, L slow, M sharp, M slow, apodizing, hybrid, brick wall. So it's all the same. Here, we'll go to M slow. It's all the same DAC filters that happen above 20K that I can't tell the difference of. But if you want those, they're here. Now inputs, we're going to cycle. We're on Bluetooth currently. The first input is auxiliary input. And that's what I've been using a lot of the time, because it gets me around the volume control problem. You see, the internal DAC and the Bluetooth internal DAC both give you that insane, holy shit, volume can't be controlled. However, if I run to the auxiliary input with my Geshelli Labs Enog 2 Pro, which I have set to medium output, because that DAC, if you remember, has low, medium, and full output in case your amp needs less than full. And guess what? My amp needs less than full. So now, while we're playing through the signal of that, and I'm playing, what are we playing? I need to get closer to the screen so I could read it. Oh, this is from the Mr. Robot soundtrack. That's wonderful. While that's on medium, now, even though these are the most sensitive headphones that are on this table, and probably on my wall, I can now use the volume knob up to like 10 o'clock. And it's so much more freeing to know I'm not going to go, blow up, amp exploded, fuck. Is I can just go, ah. If I lower this even further, there, now it's on low output gain, I can almost achieve noon. Oh my God. You will never see this volume knob pointing at noon, ever, unless you have an external DAC or the other easy option, take your player, whatever it is, and don't max out the digital output, which is a shitty way to do things, because when you lower the volume digitally, when you say foobar, be here, or Winamp, be here, or Spotify, be here, or Tidal, be here, and you're not maxing it out, you're killing bits. So if you have a 16-bit depth, which no one has a 16-bit depth, you would be lowering it below that, below the reference to 14, 13, 12 to lower the volume. It's not so bad when you're hooked up to this 24, because then you go 24, 23, 22, 21. So sending higher than Redbook out to lower the volume and then be able to control it is well in the range of what I'm going to recommend you do. However, my biggest problem with that is always, can you trust you won't accidentally raise that volume? Or another source won't pop up on your computer or phone or whatever it is and play at maximum. That's the fear. Because once you turn this knob, you're unlocking the potential for explosions in your headphones. God, I love this song. This is Where Is My Mind, which is the Pixies, but it's done by Maxine Siren, and it's all piano, and it's beautiful. I cried when Mr. Robot played that shit. Cried like a baby! Look how much volume control I can use. This is insane. Alright, so there's my volume control. Let's switch off of auxiliary. Now it switches to USB after that. And I don't understand why this is, but it doesn't say no signal because there's no USB plugged in. What it says is 44.1 PCM. Like there's signal, and it knows that. And it's not plugged in. You're not plugged in, so I don't know why you're saying that. And that follows up by coaxial, which says PCM no signal, which makes sense. And then followed up by optical. And this particular track is 176.4 kilohertz PCM. And now we're back to the standard volume because we're not using the Shelly, we're not on Bluetooth, we're straight out of her, straight through fiber. And because this is a very quiet, you can see my waveform seek bar down there, because this is a very quiet track, I can actually hit 9 o'clock. I mean, it's gonna kill me. This track changes at 9 o'clock, you die. But oh my science, can I now stop complaining? Because I love complaining. Everyone loves when Zeos complains. But at some point, if I pick that wallpaper, you know that I'm going to stop complaining and start praising. Oh, God. So you got to get around the volume problem. You got to, mister. You got to get around the heat problem. It's just, it literally, like a blind person be like, oh yeah, that's an Xduoo TA-30, I could tell. Like it's got that warmth signature that some sort of space fucking radar would be able to pick up. And then you turn up your headphones, and the only way I can describe this is silky. Well, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this review of a $700 Silky Tube Hybrid. No, that's it. It doesn't have extended bass. Some tubes, here's what tubes usually do. Tube, real tube, full tube. They will take the bass and they'll sort of wonkify it. Like it'll last longer. Like when a bass drum hits, instead of it hitting and then going away, because it's a tube, it'll hit, sort of stick around a little bit longer and fade into the distance. And that's lovely. But a hybrid won't do that as much. Instead, and it doesn't remove the detail. I'm not saying it's like, oh, it puts mayonnaise on the lens and therefore that's what it's doing. No. But it feels like it blends the sounds together in such a way that you can no longer see the resolution. It's kind of like when you step back, when you walk right up to a television, whether it's a 1080p or a 4K, if you're right in its face, you could see that screen door. You could see every pixel. And I think what a tube does is just step you the fuck back. You could still see the beautiful detail of it all. You just can't make out all the jagged lines and edges that music usually has. It takes digital, and I'm fully aware that, you know, a DAC's job is to go from ones and zeros into a beautiful analog waveform. But now imagine you take that and you just apply another smoothing filter to it. Just the slightest, most beautiful Dijonais smoothing filter to it. And that, I can't stop listening to this fucking tube amp. It's the tube hybrid, whatever you want to fucking call it. I can't stop listening to it. Because I want to know what that headphone sounds like on it. And what about this one? Oh, but that one. Oh my God, this new one. How about this guy right here? What do you sound like on it? What is it going to do to the Stellias? I am obsessed with how this thing sounds. Because it reminds me of my reference amplifier here. This is an Italian made, like $2,500 QES reference, fucking Class A Ridiculon amplifier. And it's solid state. But if I compare that to the THX, this makes the THX seem sterile and cold and sad. And I don't know how you do that with solid state. You just, there's just like two massive Toriel transformers and these very, very fancy caps, and everything's hand soldered, and it's only balanced. You could only run balanced out of it. And it's like, it does something that makes headphones sound just, I want to say the word better. I'm removing the word better from my inventory because it makes them sound more pleasurable. That's what it is. Pleasure. We know all about pleasure here on Z Reviews. Pleasure craft. Pleasure yourself. Pleasure things. Pleasure. There, I said it like 4 times. And this, more than any normal tube, except for a couple very, very Spartan instances, that the Tor balanced with the Sendy IVAs, which I guess means the Tor balanced with also the Sivga P2s, was like a perfect combination. And this, on all but a few headphones, gives me that same pleasure of listening to it. Because I could listen on 789s all day. And I could listen on my dark voice. And my dark voice, the problem with a real tube is you're really throwing the dice. I can get HD600s on that are perfect. HD600s in this, not as perfect. They want a real tube HD600s. But everything else, well, everything but that, we're going to talk about the 909s for a second, improves with this, like, just smother the sound with this warm butt. I feel like if I was a person who was normal, which I am fucking not. How you doing? I'm not normal. I would love to come home every day and have this waiting for me, and I'd turn it on to warm up, and I'd go make a sandwich and a cup of tea, and then I'd come back and I'd eat my sandwich and clean my hands, and then I would sip tea while listening to whatever headphones I desire on my TA-30. Except for the TH909s, which, here's the ironic part, and actually just holding that to pull this out, that corner there is 107 degrees or 41 degrees Celsius. So just putting my thumb there to pull out the headphone, it's like hot. If you work at a pizzeria or on engines all day, this is going to be fine for you. This pair of headphones, the TH909s, I bought, loved, but then sort of had like moments where I was like, wow, why did I spend so much money on these? I plug them into my THX amp. It doesn't have the I remember having the magic. Where'd the magic go? Fast forward to the Xduoo TA-10. And it sounded a little bit better on that. It was a hybrid. It was a hybrid tube amp with a single little baby tube like that. And it had a balance connector in the front, even though it wasn't a balanced amp. Oh, I should go over that too. But then I changed that TA-10's tube to a vintage 1950s tube that, like, there's one of ever. Actually, somebody loaned me a bunch, and I'm like, I'm not sending this one back to you. Here's money. And these headphones became perfect. They transcended all known sciences, and it was like, oh, that's why I spent so much on you. However, I could only use them on a TA-10. Now I've changed to these Yaxi pads, which are the TH900 Yaxi pads, and it sort of fixed that issue altogether, except when I came back to the TA-30. The TA-20 did them pretty good too. That was a balance. Real quick, before I move on. TA-10 had a DAC, no Bluetooth, and had a balanced output in the front, but wasn't a balanced tube amp. That was the TA-10. The TA-20, no DAC in the back, full balanced input, full balanced output. That was a balanced hybrid tube amp. This TA-30, full DAC in the back and Bluetooth, no balanced input, no balanced output, it's single-ended. So it's very strange how the more expensive higher-end model doesn't even have the balanced connector and doesn't have balanced inputs, but does have a DAC with Bluetooth. So it's weird. It's like, I guess the TA-40, if that's a thing, might be the balanced version of this, but then it won't be true balance until you get to the TA-50, which will be like $1,500. I could just see, like, it's weird how they changed even though it's TA-10, TA-20, TA-30, everything changed on every single one of them moving up. It's like you lost your 2 units that are lesser than this with 4-pin XLR balanced outputs. This is a fake balance. This is a real balanced. No, none. It's like, don't get it. I don't get how they do it, but as long as they can make shit sound like this, I don't really care if I get it. All right, turn this up. I can tell it wants to work, but the treble on my 909s is now back to the way it was when I was like, why did I spend money on these? Occasionally there's a song with low treble and I could completely enjoy them, but every other song is like even this song, which doesn't really have the treble like focused, it doesn't sound right. Now, I'm gonna pass this off as saying, well, guess what? These are one of the hardest to amp pairs of headphones in the world, because they literally are. They work on the TA-10, and they work on, actually it was the original Xduoo XDO5. Those two things, which are both Xduoo amps, by the way, power this beautifully. But this 30, no bueno. It is like a no. I took it down today. I assumed it would just be great. But I took it down before this review and was like, oh, can't wait for this. I'm going to plug these in for a second. Most trustworthy cans I got right here. Neumann NDH20s. Every sound demo ever. In fact, I've sound demoed and then I'll sit at my desk there to edit, and I realize that the headphones I'm wearing aren't the headphones that are the best and most trustworthy, and I'll go get my set of NDH20s. And I know for a fact this pair of headphones works with a tube. It's a dynamic set, 150 ohm. Yes. Hold on, wait. Oh, what is this? Soundgarden? What are you playing? I gotta scroll down. Flower. There's just that opening, like, echo. I know these headphones, and I know what they sound like when they're pure. And this has made these headphones unpure in the best way. The fuck is this? That was the beginning to Postmodern Jukebox. Jealous. Feet Morgan James. Here, hold on, wait. Like, that clapping startled me. Because it was like an intense width, but clarity. It was like it was happening in my face. And if I were to switch this to the solid state over there, let's just, for the shits and giggles, let's just put on my 789. Hold, please. Oh, I have that on low gain now. Ooh, I gotta put that back up. There we go. Starting it again. Yeah, that's good clapping. That's good. It's good. But it ain't that. Like, I can literally just go, oh, no. Oh, yes. Oh, no. Oh, yes. I was just going to talk about something else. I forget what it was. I was like, oh, shit, Zeus. You got to remember to talk about that thing. And, well, planars. There is that shit. What was the name of the shit? The Mimby? The Mimby? No, Mimby's a DAC, isn't it? Anyway, I did a tube hybrid from shit, and I said that was the defining tube amp for planars. Because it was so much power. Well, guess what? This is so much power. Oh, yeah. Oh, I could I could taste it. Put that same song on. Calm, baby, calm. There's just this, like I can tell. These are blonde B20s, and everyone's gonna give them shit because they're still $400. But I know what these sound like, and I know why I love them. And whatever they they have more now. They now have more. This is giving them more of everything that I love about them. More. Just more. Now, not every headphone is going to benefit, as the 909's proved, because there's been not really many other headphones that have not sounded better, but there is a chance. I think it might just be those, though. But now this is just... Look, I'm all the way to 10 o'clock. It's a miracle. If I were to actually go up here on optical and just lower this down, let's see, how far can I go? All right, I'm going to go to 12 noon. And then I'm going to raise the volume. I'm 12 decibels down on foobar. And that allows me to make loud noon. So that's my advice. If you have a setup and a system, either you need a DAC with switchable outputs, like even the SU8, if you just have a balanced DAC, well, any DAC with a, why am I doing that? That's not what a balanced DAC looks like. I'm thinking about XLR connectors in the back. If you have a balanced DAC, or any DAC with a volume control, this is perfect if you have that already. If you're going to use the internal DAC, which for $700, you should be able to fucking use that, you're going to have to limit your player or Windows config to lower the fucking thing down. Because then you could at least, like, I feel so much better being able to turn this knob like a knob. Again, even down 12 dB, there's no going past noon. There just isn't. And if I accidentally were to like, oh no. Literally from 9 to 12 is a 12 decibel drop I have to do. When I drop that 12 decibels, I can now go to here instead of here. One last thing, which I remembered what it was. So, the back of this unit, which I'll attempt to swing around now. Maybe I should say a small prayer to the audio gods, because it is sort of like umbilical to my entire desk. And you love how my desk can do this? We've got DAC coming in, we've got fiber coming in, we've got power coming in, and then this set of RCAs, which is in the auxiliary out, that's going to that right side 789. And that lets me tap into the DAC portion of this. And I've determined there is no tube pre-feeding that. Number one, the actual volume knob does not affect it. So at least if you're buying this $700, oh my God, it's so warm now. Like in the wintertime, this is like engine block, has just been off for 12 minutes, hot. It's fucking hot. But, so here's the thing. If you're using the DAC through USB, coaxial, or fiber optic, if you're using that input, you get RCA access to the DAC. Not controllable, it's not a pre, it's just full-time output, which is why I've got the 789 turned on. So now I'm going to pick up these monolith 1570s, which weigh as much as this tube amp, by the way, and I can assess the tube without the, I can assess the DAC without the tube affecting it. What is this? Billy Joel, Good Night Saigon, My Lives, a Vietnam Veterans version. Ah. Alright, let's skip around a bit. I mean, I've obviously done this before the video. And I'm going to tell you that I can now assess the DAC, purely just the DAC. And it's a goddamn good DAC. They didn't give you like a $40 DAC in this. There's a $200 DAC buried somewhere. In fact, we can go and look at some... Ooh, that's another thing I want to do. I'm sorry if I'll cover most of her. There you go. So, first thing I want to point out is that on the official Xduoo website, it says TA-30 Extraordinary Sound. And I don't understand why they quoted sound. Like, it should be just say extraordinary sound. You don't, they're Chinese. And then over here that shows you that it's got a tube rectification and custom capacitance and HD Bluetooth. 3,000 milliwatt output power equipped with the professional headphone freely. Several input interfaces. Be comprehensively equipped with various front-end devices. No space between various and front. They really need a proofreader. They claim coaxial and optical decoding will also do DSD64, which I'm not sure, but it's showing a picture of it. Bluetooth 5 with LDAC, which is like a requirement now. If it's 2020, you need LDAC. Filters, cutoffs, tube rectification, ECC82 amplification, which has got to be the actual built-in amplifier chip, even though they're circling this. By the way, These two tubes have LEDs underneath them, and this one glows. That is glowing. That's where the heat's coming from. The heat's coming from the big boy and whatever else is inside of this, because this whole thing is hot. Like, even this box is hot. Well, it's not as hot as the bottom, but it's still hot. It's got double active crystal oscillators reshaping data by CPLD. Oh, baby. Enthusiast capacitance. Using enthusiast Japanese Nikon and also Japanese Elna Silmic. And then we could look at these specs. And it actually has, well, it's got tube specs. 65 dB crosstalk. That's pretty high. Signal to noise ratio, however, is 110 dB, which is not bad. Total harmonic distortion post noise is 0.5%. 0.5% would not be acceptable for a solid state, but throwing a tube in something, 0.5%, if they can keep it like that, is amazing. Oh, look, there's the back. So that's what I'm missing. And there, above the power, is where the fuse holder is, which you pull out. When the fuse blows, and your fuse might blow, you literally get a little thing, you pull that out, and a box comes out with a brand new fuse and then your blown fuse behind it. And you take your blown fuse and you put it down, you take your new fuse, you pop it in, you push it back in, your amp works fine again. So yeah, that's it. So I'm gonna link to several places that sell this. It needs to be owned by somebody. I wish it had a balanced input just so I can plug these bitches in without swapping cables. But for now, I'm just going to sit down and I don't know which headphone I like on it best. I think even though these are the hardest thing to actually use, these are probably the narrowest and bass lightest that I've got plugged into it. And when you can just tube them dirty, it's so... I gotta lower this. Where's my volume? Let's do like 15 decibels. Yeah, I've lowered that 15 decibels and now I can get up to 10 o'clock. What freedoms, oh my. So yeah, thank you for Xduoo for sending this out and linking to everyone who's selling it. And just, it's not ending up in a yard sale. I care about it too much. It does too much good for all of my shit. If I do sell it, maybe I'll do like a promotional thing. I'll see if they'll send me another one. Oh, one more thing. I thought it was cool that these side fences are held in place with banana plugs. They literally just put banana holes and banana plugs on these so that you can just plug them in. They don't actually perform any electronic passing duties, but your speaker, your Xduoo, you use what you got. All right, that's enough. This video is over. If you want to see these videos early because you can't get enough of me, please check out my Subscribestar and Patreon. If you want every wallpaper that I've ever used ever, check out my Patreon or Subscribestar. You can look up the original artists using certain sites. I've got linked to that post. If you want to ask me any questions, check out my Patreon or Subscribestar. I usually check those places like twice a week. Subscribestar actually more than Patreon because there's literally 27 people on Subscribestar, so it's a lot easier to answer those questions than there is for the like 1,000 plus on my Patreon. If you want to participate in the yard sales, well, I just said this will not be in, but there's plenty of other things. In fact, that TA-30 is probably going to end up in a yard sale. Because I was going to keep it and try to do tube swapping. I'm going to keep the TA-10. I'll probably sell the TA-20 in the yard sale, 1st to the 10th of every month. You name your own price. I ship for free in the continental United States, half shipping international. If you want more help than just that, the $10 tier gets you into a private Telegram chat on my phone. There's my phone. Where you could ask me 10 questions a day, and everyone there can help you, and I can help you, and we could all have a big old help fest, and then you have exactly my thoughts and everything. It's all behind the scenes. No one has to wait for nothing in that chat. So that's $10 or higher a month. You're good with it. That supports this channel, keeps the lights on, feeds my cat, cleans her litter box. Well, I clean her litter box, but then I have to refill it with litter. So you do pay for cat litter. That's all. And you pay for waifus. I have to spend the time to find these wonderful wallpapers for you. Thank you. Thank you for the thank you. That's it. Share these videos with your friends because they all need to be part of this terrible hobby that throws away all your money. All your fucking money. I'm done. They're good? We good? Thank you. I'm not taking these headphones off. I'm just gonna keep playing. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Oh, and check out HiFiGuides.com in the forums!